A question from our audience, I think, Eric.
OK, well, next week's Jess. So, Jess, what's your question today?
I was just wondering how you come up with ideas for your shows.
They're all things that actually just sort of happen. Like Google, I didn't sort of sit there and think, I will do a show about this. It was already just going on and happening, and after a while you kind of wake up to life and think, I think I ought to tell people this story. If I sat in a room and tried... I get lots of emails from people who think they've got a great idea, and they're all very, very contrived, and it suddenly involves the idea that I'd go to every European country and climb the highest mountain and meet their Eurovision Song Contest entry who'd got the lowest score ever. And you think, why would anyone do that? And it's not as contrived as that. It's actual life. It's real things that have happened.
OK, well, you've got another question there as well, have you, Eric?
OK, this is Alexis. So, Alexis, what's your question?
Yeah, Dave, have you found any more Dave Gormans, or have you stopped looking?
I stopped looking when I got to number 54, which was the point.
And two of them were women, if I remember right.
Two of them were women who changed their name to Dave Gorman. One of whom was going out with a boy who also changed his name to Dave Gorman, and I'm still hoping for the world's first inter-Dave Gorman marriage. But they didn't stop looking for me, and I've now met 108, so I've now met two lots of
So if 54. Dave Gorman calls you, you always meet them?
Well, no, normally it's when I'm touring or so, and somebody will get in touch and they'll come to the theatre or something like that, because they know I'm coming into town. So, but they still exist and they still keep coming after me.
Religion or something? A culture?
Yeah, not one that I wanted to start, but yeah, one I appear to be the high priest of.
Do you know how many there are in Britain? I mean...
no, although you can now find out. There's a weird thing, there's a website which has it's basically got the electoral roll and you can search for it. It's called yournotme.com or something. And they had, last time I looked, they had a list of the top 10 search names. And I'm on it twice, because David Gorman and Dave Gorman appear in the top 10 list. So I was somewhere between David Beckham and Tony Blair, and things, and joke names like Ben Dover and so on.
No, is that a joke name?
Yes.
No.
It is, really.
Anus?
Yeah.
Penis?
You know, I know, he'll kill me for telling you this, but I know someone whose surname is Growcock, right?
Yeah.
Now,
True?
obviously,
This
yeah,
is true?
Right, and his father is obviously called Growcock as well, and you would think he would have been bullied at school with a name like that.
Yes.
He still chose, for the first name for his son, Richard. Which abbreviates, obviously, to Dick. And worse than that, he gave him the middle name Headley. I apologise, Richard, I didn't mean any harm.
That's child abuse.
Isn't
by
it?
anything.
Yeah,
No, I just got to ask one other thing before we tell the folks what we're doing. Your forthcoming tour, Unusual Transport, you are actually going to pedal your way between dates, is that right?
Yes.
How many miles is that going to involve?
About 1,500 miles. In 30-odd days. I started off, I was just going to do it as a bike ride. I'm travelling from the southernmost point of mainland Britain to the easternmost point, to the westernmost point, to the northernmost point by bike. It's about 1,500 miles. And then I had a really stupid idea, which was I'll do a gig every night. So I am now doing a gig every night as well, and we've already booked the venues and...
He's mad. Absolutely nuts.
Well, I'm regretting that one a little bit.
Listen, I hope you don't regret being here. We love having you here, Dave.
Pleasure.
And love having you watch as well, folks. This is what's happening on the show. After the ads, we'll be doing the papers. Dave will take us through the headlines. First, though, today's headlines. What have you got for us, Dave?
Well, for a start, it's been a while since I've been here, and this has happened to me since I've been here.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got the Mail to begin with, front page of the Mail, where Gordon Brown, it's one of the most pointless things ever, really. His plan is to reform the hereditary system of the royal family so that women have equal rights as men. It wouldn't have to go to the eldest son and things. And you think, well, if you're trying to make...
into a little secret,
Yeah,
because I also was telling the team this morning, I said, what a waste of everybody's time. And a couple of the girls piped up and said, how dare you say that? We live in the 21st century. Why should men have precedence over women over something as symbolic as...
It's more important that of the monarchs that we've had, the women have been far more
Larry,
successful.
Dave.
Yeah, no, look...
Have they not?
It's nothing to do with whether I think men are better. I absolutely agree that things should be fair, but if you're going to make the royal family fair, you should disband it completely. This idea that, you know, if you're trying to say, let's make this fairer, you know, OK, let's make the system fairer by which some people get ridiculous amounts of privilege by virtue of their birth. The way of making that fairer is to remove that privilege, not to say, let's have the girls be equally entitled to this weird,
Well, what's interesting is they're going to allow members of the royal family to marry Catholics as well if this becomes law, which was great because, of course, Catholics loyal to our German Pope. So therefore, it won't be long before they can dismantle the royal family and reinstate an Italian-based primate, the figurehead of the spiritual leadership and brethren of the British people.
Absolutely, I'm with you, I think.
Right. I'm glad we understand each other.
At the moment, the only change that would happen if they bring this in is that Princess Anne would rise from 10th in line to the throne to the 4th.
Yes.
So unless Gordon Brown is planning to assassinate William and Harry, and, I mean, unless it's part of some weird plot.
If you had a choice of Prince Charles or Princess Anne on the throne, Princess Anne, she'd be, I mean, my goodness,
Well,
she'd
she
whip
would, but
people
this isn't
to death.
going to do
Gordon
it,
Brown
is
would be cowering, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
She'd be fantastic.
I agree that would be better, but it's not going to happen if you bring this legislation in. So that's what I mean about it being
Anyway,
pointless.
that's what they're
It's
talking
not
about.
going to go anywhere.
Revolution at the
Yes.
palace.
The Mirror, and it's in every paper really, but it's in the Mirror. That's where I've got this, and it's a horribly sad story. I'd rather not dwell on it. Really, it's the police incompetence with this guy who's been convicted for multiple rapes, and it's 2009, and they've just got him, but they were kind of onto him in 2004.
Never took a DNA sample.
They didn't take a DNA
It's
sample.
extraordinary.
A man phone 999 reported the driver of his car, red VW Golf, got the number plate and everything in there. And they didn't follow that
And
up.
he carried on raping
and that was in
attacking women for
2004.
5 years.
And
This is not new. That happened to the Yorkshire Ripper as well. He was pulled in
Yeah.
quite a.
The advancements,
early on.
though, with DNA...
But yeah, exactly. We have different kind of technology now,
Well,
and doing
even
DNA
less an
samples could have
excuse.
solved this really quick. So
I have to say as well, when you read the background of this guy, Reed, you know, he was in a children's home, I think, at 9, and, you know, he was going to see therapists before he was arrested to try and deal with this issue. He said a dark side of his personality that made him just want to attack people and do hateful things.
Hindsight is marvellous, though. I mean, but how many other people also have very difficult backgrounds and are totally blameless, and you can't go around accusing people simply because they've had a difficult background.
OK, no,
yeah.
fair point.
However, it's hard to argue that the police shouldn't have been onto that particular individual sooner, given that people were actually reporting, you know, his number plate and car and things, and there's several women being assaulted in the years following that, which is
and more coming forward, I believe. There's actually an appeal at the moment for anyone else who thinks they may have been attacked by him to get in touch.
It's always good if Britain's good at something, isn't it? And we like to celebrate our victories. The Mail, something we're the champions of Europe. The headline is British teenagers are the binge drinking champions of Europe. So well done,
it would be
everyone.
so great if it was true, but we're not.
It's not even true, which is it is. The very first sentence gives you the clue. British teenagers are among the worst binge drinkers in Europe. So we're not even the champions. Denmark and the Isle of Man rate higher.
The Isle of Man?
Yeah. And only in Iceland, Norway and Sweden are girls more likely to binge drink, so I know where I'm going for my holidays.
We should point out, by the way, model in that picture, we have to say.
It does say in the corner, posed by model on the picture there. And you know your modelling career is going well, don't you, really, when you're playing drunk girl in Daily Mail. That's...
What did you say in My Guy? Was it My Guy you appeared in?
No, I was in the Dear Deirdre in the Sun, when people had, in my case, I could never get it up.
Erectile dysfunction,
I had erectile dysfunction.
What a thing to admit.
That was one of them, and then in another one, every girl I met ran off and had sex with somebody else. It's a familiar story.
Yeah, don't forget your early career in Children's Film Foundation and
all right, Davis.
advertising fruit pastels. Let's not forget all of that as well.
Thank you.
Talking of embarrassing things happening in your childhood, we have the Telegraph, which is, this is just the most ridiculous story. It's a school sports day between sort of 5 competing middle schools, and every year.
Non-competing middle schools, presumably, because we don't compete.
Well,
in sports days anymore.
they were competing in sports, and for 10 years, one particular school has won, and they won again.
Well, it's obviously a fix.
They won, and the parents started booing and chanting "fix" as these kids went up to collect their prizes. And the kids have all been very well behaved. They've all shaken hands with each other, and they've all applauded each other as they go to collect the prize. And the parents start booing and chanting "fix." And you think, what a wonderful example we're setting for the children of today. And it'll be the same people. This is who will then write letters to newspapers complaining about the youth of today and how badly behaved they are.
It's a very good article, that one. I have to say, it's worth buying the Telegraph for.
Absolutely,
Nicely done, Dave.
Thank you.
Larry?